like if you found the video valuable. When Thomas Bell, the quiet old locksmith of Greystone, was found dead in his shop, no one gave it much attention at first. An old man, slumped behind the counter, no signs of violence, and no indication of robbery, just a heart attack, they said. Until Detective Mary Ann Cross opened the drawer beneath his desk and found a strange, leather-bound ledger. Inside were pages and pages of neat handwriting. Names, addresses, dates, every property Thomas had worked on in the past 40 years. A logbook, nothing more, except for one detail. At the bottom of the last page, in red ink, was written, Detective Mary Ann Cross, July 24, 3:07 a.m. She read it again. Today's date. The time was less than 12 hours away. The hairs on the back of her neck stood up. Mary Ann kept the ledger locked in her desk at the station as she began digging through its contents. Most names matched existing clients. Wealthy homeowners, old apartment buildings, even city offices. All routine jobs. But when she cross-checked a few of the addresses with cold case files, something odd appeared. 5 of the names were murder victims. All unsolved, all with no signs of forced entry. All within the last decade. She checked the next entry in the book. Dr. Aaron Fielding, June 2, 3:07 a.m. That matched an unsolved death 3 weeks ago. Same signature. No forced entry, no struggle, no evidence. Her heart pounded as she looked again at the final entry, her own name. Back home that evening, Mary Ann tried to distract herself, but her eyes kept drifting to the clock. 2:54 a.m. She poured herself a drink but barely touched it. Her service weapon sat on the coffee table. The lights were off, the apartment quiet. Too quiet. At 3:06 a.m., she stood up and faced her front door. Click. The deadbolt slowly turned, from the inside. The door creaked open. She raised her gun. No one entered, just silence, and the cold scent of old iron and oil. Show yourself, she shouted, voice trembling. Nothing. Then, from the shadows near the hallway, a voice she hadn't heard in 10 years. Still jumpy, Mari? Her blood ran cold. It was Daniel, her former partner, killed in the line of duty. She turned, but he wasn't there. Only shadows dancing on the wall. The voice again. He opened the doors, even the ones that should have stayed shut. The room spun. She looked down at the floor. A faint trail of oily footprints led from the door to the bookshelf. Mary Ann slowly followed it. The shelf was slightly ajar. Behind it, a second door. A hidden room she'd never seen in the apartment she'd lived in for 6 years. She opened it with shaking hands. Inside was a dark, cramped space. Tools, keys, journals, photos of her, of Daniel, of others, and at the center, a small, flickering lantern illuminating a table. On it was the real ledger. This one had only one entry. Mary Ann Cross, chosen. Suddenly, the door behind her slammed shut. From the shadows, the voice whispered again. He didn't just make keys. He chose the locks, and who they kept out. They found Mary Ann the next morning, unconscious in her apartment. No signs of a break-in. No physical injuries. But her hair had turned white overnight, and she clutched an empty leather-bound book to her chest, fingers trembling. She never spoke of what happened. But weeks later, a new name appeared at the bottom of that ledger, written in red ink. Officer Greg Simmons, August 3, 3:07 a.m. And the cycle continued.